and the quad one teams are the top tier programs, right? So
Okay.
I know you guys have heard blue bloods thrown around, and that's when they're talking about like the Dukes, North Carolinas, and all those teams who are normally
Kansas.
in, yeah,
Right.
Kansas, those teams who are normally in the mix. Those are the teams that are normally a part of the tournament and have like the historical, cachet or whatever that's connected to the tournament. So if you don't see those teams, it's like, what's going on? It's just not the same.
Mhm.
But so KP, I was saying while you were on your pulling your Indiana Jones, getting out that cave you were in the beginning.
The Temple of Doom.
Yeah. Uh, I was saying I would tap in with you because I know you have been doing the research behind the SEC and a number of teams. So correct me if I'm wrong. Before the 14 out of 16, before the 14 teams, the record was 11, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Before the
Okay.
record, the previous record was 11.
Okay, but go ahead. You were talking about the SEC and what you thought in
Um,
terms of their
Damn.
conference.
Hope this internet ain't tripping again. I'm in a different room.
You look clear,
Hey,
man.
hey,
Okay.
hey, hey, yeah.
Okay.
We look like we
I
got you
can
in
see
4K.
clearly now the rain is gone.
Okay. So
Right, it's
what I
gone.
was saying about the SEC was I was saying at least 12, but I was predicting. I'm like, I believe that they're going to shatter this 11 and they're going to get 13 in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they were going to get 13 teams into the tournament. The team I did not see getting in ended up being the 14th team, which was Texas. Today, I actually got into a back and forth with a guy that he's got a he's got a sports platform. He's on Instagram. He's got over 10,000 followers. Name is Will Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he usually posts a lot of interesting things about college basketball and the NBA. So I've been following this guy for about a year, and we have back and forth. I'll comment on some of his posts, but today we were actually DMing back and forth for about 30 minutes where we were debating on this NCAA tournament, and his argument was Texas. Mine was North Carolina.
Mm.
So I mean,
In
he was
terms of who
arguing that
shouldn't have been in.
yes, no,
Okay.
no, no. Who should have been in? Who should
So
have been
you
in?
so you said North Carolina should have been in?
Yes, I said the North
Okay.
Carolina should have been in. He was saying that Texas should have been in because of the quad one wins, them having 7 quad one wins.
But they both got in.
Yes, they did. So we kind of went through a list of all the teams and all the schools that we thought were in, that we thought were out. Some of them he was right on, some of them I was right on, but interesting nonetheless. Like the whole selection process,
Mm-hmm.
and I know one of the things you were saying where you were talking about quad one wins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't even know if it necessarily fully comes down to that. I think the pecking order of what's relevant, what's important, the criteria to get in, I
Mm-hmm.
think it changes because it becomes splitting hairs in a sense that you can make an argument for so many different teams. And if they should be in or if they shouldn't be in, if they should be out. I know that a lot of people were disappointed in West Virginia
Yeah,
not
not
making it
getting in.
into the tournament.
A-
And they
And
had some
and
they had some
and
really good wins.
saying it's appalling to have North Carolina get in
Yeah.
instead of West Virginia.
Well,
So here's
then
I'm
comes the
sorry.
blue blood. Then there comes the blue blood
Abs-
stuff that we're talking about, right?
that
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it. But this is what is funny. I actually was talking to someone yesterday. They actually play for West Virginia, so they're red shirting. I'm gonna interview him in a couple months, but I've been knowing this dude for years, so we talk periodically. And so one of the jokes that I made yesterday before Selection Sunday was, y'all not getting in, right? He was like, "Ah, man, don't say that, man. Don't say that." I said, "Nah, man. Y'all gonna get invited to the crown, baby. Y'all,
Mm-hmm.
y'all going to the crown." And he's like, "Nah, nah, nah, don't say that." And I start laughing. I'm like, "Nah, you know what? You guys have had a really good year." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "But you didn't win 20 games
Right.
and you lost in the first round of your conference tournament to Colorado, who is the worst team in the conference.
Yeah.
So you being a bubble team, that didn't help your case. And because of that, I don't think you guys are going to make the tournament.
Yeah,
Promise, I said it to him.
but they've been calling the Big 12 the toughest conference that there is.
For
That's what a
the
lot of people have been
for
saying.
the for the past few years, it has been.
Mm-hmm.
For the past few years, it like, make no mistake, but this past year you just lost two Big 12 teams, in Texas and Oklahoma,
Right.
who were on the upper echelon of the Big 12, who just went to the
Now to the
SEC.
SEC. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That
Right.
so you, I mean, back in the day, Texas A&M was a Big 12 team. Back in the day, Missouri was a Big 12 team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These teams are now SEC teams, so
Right.
they're no longer there. So it,
Yeah.
it does kind of it does kind of take away from the Big 12. In the beginning of the year, I was saying that Kansas was one of the toughest teams in the country, and
I
then they
remember
had a
that because we were watching a game together one
yeah
time and we were
yeah
talking about Kansas.
yeah.
So
And matter of fact, they beat North Carolina. They beat them
mm-hmm.
by 3. But they had a downward skid, and they were no longer a perennial powerhouse like some of these other schools. I would actually say, if you go top to bottom, teams,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the SEC stands alone as the cream of the crop. Um, I would say the Big 12, even though they don't have more teams than the Big 10, I'd say the Big 12, they will be able to beat more teams in the tournament. I think they'll do better than the Big 10,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the top tier of the Big 10 teams are pretty damn good. I think Michigan is going to be hard to beat, and I think Michigan State, they're going to be hard to beat. And
Yeah.
Wisconsin's a damn good team as well.
Yeah. And see, so the reason I brought up the quads, right, is
Yeah.
because and you had been talking about quad one wins and all that shit throughout the year. So don't give me that the quads don't matter, man. All that bullshit you're trying to
Well,
say now. But they were just referring to that throughout the process of the the selection Sunday and all that stuff. And it's like I get it. They try to make it more of a formal type situation, and this is how you do things, and this is what
But
matters, and all that stuff. But go ahead, you trying to say
it's like a
something,
it's
boss?
like a it's like a fallback to justify keeping teams out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In quad
right,
one,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right?
right, right.
Whereas when you see most of these blue blood programs or these blue chip programs, you're going to they're going to have more quad one games just
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because
by
Absolutely.
virtue of
Absolutely.
what conference they're in and who they are
exactly.
matched up against.
So quad one is just used as a way to justify shitting on somebody or keeping them out.
And
You know
the,
what I'm
and the
saying?
cra-
Yeah.
the crazy thing about North Carolina is and I put the short up about the quad one versus quad two. They went undefeated in quad two, right? And only won one quad one game.
Yeah.
But then you had the panel, and I forget exactly who said it. I don't know if it was Jason Williams. It was one of them. It may not have been him, so don't quote me on that. But they were like, "Yeah, they're 8-0 in quad two, but that doesn't matter because they're not going to be playing any quad two teams in the tournament."
The, the
Right.
the the so this is what I would say, though, when it came to North Carolina. So I had this marker of 20 wins for everybody. I thought, I in my head keep that as a criteria. You have to win 20 games
Mm-hmm.
to be considered.
Yeah, no, I,
So
and
North Carolina won 22 games. Now, they had one quad one win, but they played teams close. They played Kansas, lost by 3. They lost to Auburn by 6. They had different games that they in different teams that they played close.
but
Their
at the
only
end of the
bad
day, it's a
loss was
L.
really at Pittsburgh.
At the end of the day, it's a L though.
It
It's an
is.
L, and I would think that since even if they came close in those games, they're like, okay, they came close. Let's see what they do in this ACC tournament. Now, when you get matched up against Duke, here's your test: beat them, and you're in. I don't even think they had to win the championship. If they would have beat Duke, it would have been like, all right, North Carolina's in. I don't
But
think
then
people
we
would have been arguing about it.
But the way the game ended,
But
that
but
bullshit at the
even
end.
that they won their first 2 games in the in the ACC tournament, I believe. I
They
believe they won
did.
they won their
They
first,
did. But
which
what
is
I'm
what helped
saying
them.
is
Uh-huh.
once you get to Duke, which is one of those ones,
Yeah.
you only
We're sitting out 2 players.
right. That's it, you know.
One of
And
them being the potential first number 1 pick, not even potential. No, one of
Player of
them
the year
being
and the player of the year,
the
potential
player of
player
the
of the year
year,
as
the
well.
number 1 pick in the
and
draft,
and I
Cooper Flag.
and I'm glad you said that shit because another thing that they have been saying is they were asking about players' availability, right?
Mhm.
And I heard that being said when they were doing the football playoffs too, like is a player available? And that has something to do with where they would rank the team, or because if you remember when Florida State's quarterback got injured
Yeah.
Yeah.
with Florida State's situation in the playoffs and what happened to them, and they were talking about because they didn't have their starting quarterback. So if you start bringing in, like Ubang just said, Flag was injured, right? So he's not in. So now you're questioning, oh well, where should Duke be ranked because you don't know if Flag is going to be available. Man, how that there's no exact science to that. Like that shit is crazy.
Yeah.
It's not
At the end
I'm
of the
just
day, their
saying,
record still stands, right?
yeah.
It is what it is. They performed and did what they did to that point, whether a player got hurt or not. They shouldn't be penalized, but it sounds like people were in the backstage on the committee looking at that shit and wondering, like, well, if so and
But
so ain't there, they don't need a number 2 seed or a number 3 seed.
you want to hear the interesting thing? And Kev, don't stay in the same position too long because then we thinking your internet freezing. But I'm like, man, is Kev internet freezing? No, he's
You're
just
like,
thinking.
hey, somebody
He just in
stump that
thought.
nigga or something, man.
So, but the beautiful thing about the this field of what is it, 68 now, right? Is that it really over the last, I'd say 7 to 8 years, maybe 10 years, it doesn't matter. Like they go through all this, it's really in the tournament outside of a few select number 1 seeds that are really bar none heads and shoulders above the rest. It doesn't matter. It's a get in and just compete,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.